Philadelphia is in the Super Bowl.
So are the Chiefs.
Who cares about those Chiefs, right, Craig?
We have a friend that is a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I am rooting for the Chiefs mainly because of Mahomes and because why the heck not? My Cowboys aren't in the Super Bowl, therefore, hey.
Hey, but just to say, you know what I mean? We in Philly, we hooked you up for the people who beat the crap out of your Cowboys.
Thank you, I guess. I'm still.
No.
I'm
not a
jersey today.
Yeah.
Just you know what? You got to.
We should have gotten. I don't have jerseys because I'm not that big of a fan, right? You know what I mean? I'm a fan, but like I'm a fan, you know, of winning. You know, so there's like, you know. First of all, I've always been an Eagles fan. So if I'm going to pick my NFL sports team, it's Eagles. All right, it just is, right? It's where I grew up. But I live in Dallas, so if Eagles go out, I want Dallas to win. But if Eagles and Dallas are out, I really want Kansas City to win because that's like the third favorite. It's down the line in teams, right?
Right.
So you know you get that, but now like when Philadelphia's in the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, I'm rooting for Philly. That's
right.
Team number one. I'm rooting for Philly because they're in the Super Bowl.
Right.
But I mean, you and I we really should have. We didn't think it through enough because we were off last week. That we should have gotten jerseys, knowing that, you know what I mean, you were probably going to root for Kansas City, and I'm definitely rooting for Philly, and we should have worn jerseys. So our friend, the guy who connected the two of us, is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Now, he's not going to be listening tonight. You know why?
What's he doing? What's more?
He's having a mastermind Zoom call tonight, starting in like 20 minutes.
Okay, then.
Like, if he's going to schedule mastermind calls during our podcast,
when he knows, he's known.
He's known for over a year. We have a podcast this night at this time frame.
Yep.
All right, because we started it at his mastermind.
Exactly. No, good times. No,
good times. So Craig, fun. We love you, Craig.
I think he's messing with us. He's doing this on purpose.
He is, because it's all in the Kansas City. So if Kansas City wins, I have to wear a Kansas City. I will be on next week's podcast with a Kansas City jersey on.
Okay.
All right. But if Philadelphia wins,
ooh, what is
wait. What? No. I should say when Philadelphia wins.
Exactly.
He has an event in April, which I'll be working with him at. All right, here in the Dallas area, and he's got to wear an Eagles jersey on stage.
Nice. Very nice. You know, well, I've been a Cowboys fan since I was a kid. It was the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. And when this was back, I was still in LA area. Mm-hmm. My team got me together because they knew I was going to go see a playoff game with the Cowboys against the Rams. And they lost.
Oh.
I know. So I had my number 8 Troy Aikman jersey because I've had that for a while. Well, what they did was that they gave me a number 8 UCLA jersey from Troy Aikman.
Wow.
Which my brother has been trying to get from me for a long, long time. So I said, nope, this one's mine. And he's got a Troy Aikman, signed Troy Aikman NFL football. So when you guys, I get the football. When I die, he gets the jersey. So that's kind of
no. I'll tell you a Troy Aikman story.
Oh.
I live in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
So I have served Troy Aikman coffee working at Starbucks. I have cleaned his car working at the car wash, all right? The first time I ever met Troy Aikman, he was coming out of in Frisco, Texas. He was coming out of the Dave & Buster's. And you remember those carry things we used to carry our kids in?
Yeah.
Like it would be a sit up on the table, but it was a carry if they were sleeping. Well, he's carrying his daughter when his daughter's a baby, and I was in front of him. I didn't know he was right behind me. And he bumped my leg by accident. Right? And I'm like, I turn around, and hi, Mr. Aikman. Hi, Mr. Aikman. He will never remember that. I do. because I was turning around and going to go, dude, why? Right? And I'm like, number one, he's bigger than me. Number two, he's a little more famous and well known in this town. He probably send 10 people over to kick my butt. No, not that.
It's too funny.
He is a nice guy. Like if you meet him like in person, he was always really nice to the people in town. He loved his fans. When I first moved to Dallas, I worked in putting home theaters in, and I put home theaters in the Dallas Stars, like training house, the year they won the Stanley Cup.
Oh, nice.
I was in 3 different Cowboys homes. You know, I didn't know who they were. I just was putting the stuff in. I know who they were, but one guy was actually home when we were doing it. And he had like Cowboy stuff everywhere. Yeah. I kept looking around and he come out and I go, man, you must be a big Cowboys fan, huh? He goes, it was Darren Woodson. You remember Darren Woodson? Yeah, it was in his house. All right. The most friendliest guy in the world when you just told him, you know, like, I have no clue who you are, dude.
I'm the one installing this. Never mind. That's funny.
But I told him, but no, this is interesting. I told him, I said, well, I'm from Philadelphia and I'm an Eagles fan. I really am not into who plays for the Cowboys. I said, I'm sorry. I'm not a fan. And he goes, oh, okay, that's all right. And he started naming everybody who he was friends with or went to school with. It was on a Philadelphia team at that time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're not like, they play against each other, but they're all, they went to colleges together, and some were rivals in college, and the relationships continue. And he was just totally nice. The guy working with me he wanted to ask a million Cowboys questions. He wouldn't talk to him. He wanted to talk to me because I wasn't interested in any of it. It's funny. Interesting. So, well, anyway, we're talking tonight about our Super Bowl parties. What will we do at a Super Bowl party?
Right.
And I did 2 Google searches. What's the traditional food at a Google for a Super Bowl party, and what's traditional drinks?
Okay.
And then I'm going to do my drinks and the foods I picked.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
Well, what I did is that I brought things. Well, I have my drinks that I'm going to be making, but first I thought, well, a lot of people aren't going to be making these drinks, and they might be thinking, what the heck do I feed people, or what do I bring together? And so my thought is, what are the beers or drinks? Because that's usually a go-to. Any Super Bowl party you go to, you will always have beer.
Yeah.
And so my thought is, well, now there's new drinks out there. So yes, there's your good beer, which is going to be your Modelos, your microbrews, your Coronas, your Shock Tops. But then you also have to have your Pabst Blue Ribbon, your Bud Light, your Coors, whatever it is, because depending on how many people you're having over, you don't want to spend a ton of money on beer. So you go with something that tastes good, but it's still affordable. But then you have those that would prefer cider.
Yeah.
And then those that don't drink, then you got your bubbly or your traditional water. So these are things that are easy to pick up, throw in a cooler, throw ice, and then people can just grab and go. And plus they're easy. You don't have to worry about, whose drink is it? It's people know, and so these are things that's why I brought these, and I have them here. And I'm setting them aside because that's not what I'm drinking or making today. But those are options because I thought whenever you have drinks, it's going to be those basic drinks. What do you have that you came up with on those traditional drinks?
So, I mean, beer is, first of all, that's why I picked up 2 beers. All right. Number one, if I'm going to drink a fancy beer, I'm going to drink Shock Top or something like that. I'm not a Modelo's guy. Gwen is, right? But I'll drink like different independent brew houses. I will drink all the time. Traditional beers, all right. When we're going with the cheap beer, I'm going to go with a Corona. I love Corona, all right. I actually don't have a lime in here. That's one thing I wish I would have brought in was a lime. All right.
What did I do with my lime?
Yeah, you would get lime juice. All right. Okay. But like those are traditionals, right? When everybody drinks this beer. But I grew up in a rather harsh household, shall we say, where some men drink men drinks, all right, And I brought 2 traditional men drinks that I would drink. Number 1, moonshine.
Of course.
You Tim was gonna stick moonshine in. And number 2, bourbon. So I got my Iron Wolf bourbon. And Number 3, because after I have one of those, I always want something else that I want to drink.
Dr. Pepper.
Good old Dr. Pepper.
There you go.
And then for food, I mean, everything out there says you got to have chips and dip. All right, chips and dip are at everything. But you know what I didn't get?
What's that? Chips and dip.
Why? Everybody's going to have that. All right, you can make a million chips and dip. You can make a million different nachos. All right, and nachos are kind of tough because to heat up and have them ready here for an hour is kind of tough. All right, they go bad. But I did get something that we always get in our house, no matter when the Super Bowl is we always got shrimp cocktail. Let me guess, shrimp cocktail. Yep.
So I made my shrimp cocktail sauce.
Yep.
But I also, so these are my regular shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
On this side, what I did was that I've made these shrimp similar, a little different because it was a different type of food. It was going to go on top of a carrot soup. But what I did with these is that I did not put them in the, I didn't bread them and fry them. But what I did use that was in the original recipe were the adobo chilies.
Yep.
So, and the sauce, and then lime juice, a little bit of salt, let them marinate. Then I threw them on the broiler, flipped them over, threw them on the broiler, and here you go. No. So this can be an easy appetizer. You can do most people are also going to have a veggie tray with ranch dressing. Well, you can dip these in the ranch dressing to cool down that spiciness. It can also be in place of, instead of hot wings, you can do hot shrimp. So that's one way to do that. So I did shrimp 2 ways because I always love having shrimp at any gathering.
But you know, I was gonna do barbecue, but I didn't. I was gonna barbecue my chicken, so I kind of did chicken, right?
Nice.
Consider Kansas City, but it's a little tangy. Like I got some buffalo to it, not just the Kansas City barbecue, right? Because Kansas City's in the Super Bowl.
Right.
But from Philadelphia, we have the soft pretzel.
I looked at a pretzel yesterday and I almost got it because the Kroger that I went to had the most beautiful, nice and fluffy pretzel. And I went, oh, and I almost got one. I did not.
I literally thought soft pretzel because Philly was in, and I thought about doing a barbecue of some sort of like a barbecue wings. All right, because Kansas City was in, but I'm not a fan of total of Kansas City sauce. All right.
Well, one other thing that I love to have, and I have made it for Super Bowls, is that I make my baby back ribs.
Yeah.
And then I throw them on the barbecue to give them a little bit of char because they're already cooked. They just need to be heated up and given a little barbecue-esque flavor to it. So that's something that I absolutely love, and I will make it for Super Bowl, but I did not make it this time. I went a little different this time. So one thing that I did kind of throw together, and literally threw it together. Here's the salsa.
Yep.
But I made a bean dip. So the beans with the cheese, the tomatoes, the olives, the green onions, the sour cream. So here's a little bit of a dip, if you will, because that holds very well. You can either use crackers or chips for that. The other thing that I made, actually I bought this, all I did was heat it, is a sweet and sour meatballs.
Oh,
One way that I've made meatballs is you throw them in a crock pot with grape jelly, and barbecue sauce. As weird as it sounds, it's actually pretty good.
No. I've done stuff like that with the barbecue sauce and fruit jellies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, grape is, but I've done it with blueberry and raspberry as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this one is more of a sweet and sour. This one was purchased at Kroger, but they look so good. I had to do that. And then the other thing that I love to have that I have here is hummus.
No, I'm not a fan of hummus, but yeah, there's a lot of people who have a hummus dip at a party. Yep.
And then the other thing, which I have to bring up, is that cheese and crackers, so what I did is that I try to make like a charcuterie board. So I have my cheese, I got my pepperoni, I got cheddar. These are the crackers. I got apples and grapes. So this is my charcuterie board, my Super Bowl charcuterie board.
My internet quit for a minute again. I'm like, crap.
I thought I saw you kind of freeze up a little.
Yep. So the good thing about using StreamYard is as the show goes on, just whoever's talking. Luckily, you were talking. Goes on.
Good. And
Yeah.
you didn't stop like this. I'm going to see if I have. So there was one thing that I was going to make for a drink. So yeah, beer is easy to go to, and I will do beer for the most part at a Super Bowl party, especially if I'm going to a Super Bowl party. If I'm doing it at my place, I'll get a little bit more creative as to what I want to do. One of the things that I saw, but I said I'm not going to do it, was a Bay Breeze cocktail. And this one is cranberry juice, pineapple juice, and vodka.
Wow.
My thought is sometimes when you're having a Super Bowl party, there will be ladies there that don't care about Super Bowl, don't care about football, don't care about the teams, but want to hang out, and having a Bay Breeze might be up their alley, something that's kind of fun that's not a beer. The other thing, which I started to laugh at, was ranch water. So I came across a recipe for ranch water, although I still have one ranch water in my fridge, which I haven't touched, but it's lime juice, tequila, sparkling mineral water, and then the lime wheels, which I have a lime in here. So I'm going to do without the lime wheel. But my other thought is I'm not going to use tequila. I am going to be using vodka. So Tito's is going to be who I'm going to be using today for that. And the other, which I also thought is kind of fun, is pomegranate sparkler, which is pomegranate juice, which usually Pom is the way to go. I decided to try Bothell to see if Bolt House. Oh my goodness, I'm thinking of Bothell, Washington. Bolt House Farms with the sparkling. So, and then you add a few of these little guys as a decoration in your glass. So it's like a mimosa, only it's a pomegranate sparkler that I thought of. There was a beer punch, but I figured that's what happens at the end of the game when there's leftovers and everybody throws them together. So,
yep.
So there's various things you can do. You can do cranberry juice. Cranberry juice, there's so much you can do with this. You can mix it with Sprite, 7-Up, ginger ale, and then with some pineapple juice or some pineapple, and you can do that. So there's various things that you can do. There's so many options. It's what's going to be easy, and some of these, except for this one, you can make a bunch and then have a fruit punch there, or a pitcher, and have people serve. So whenever it comes to just any gathering, but Super Bowl specifically, you want to have it to where it's easy for people to grab and go. So that's where mine came from.
And I'm curious, when you do a Super Bowl party, do you have the little paper plates that people can just keep using, or are you put out like the fancy plastics?
I do have, again, my team in California. They gave me those really nice. They're not plastic, but they're like a plastic. They're just reusable, and some of them will have where you can put your wine glass in so you can hold it. But it's a good size, and then so I pull all that out. Again, it depends on how many people. And I've never had it to where I need more than what I have, because it's usually maybe a dozen people. That's about the extent of my Super Bowl party folks. So,
are you guys going to host a party this year or no?
No, Sean works on Sunday, so no, we won't be hosting a party. But I will still. This is the thing with me, is that when it comes to certain things, including Super Bowl, I will make a spread, and it'll be there for whomever decides that they want some. So if the roommates want some, when Sean gets hungry or when he's on break, he can come and grab and go. So. These little shrimpies are good. A little different than what I'm used to. It's got a kick. They would go very well with dipping them with a little bit of ranch dressing to tone down that heat. So I'm gonna make my ranch water because that one's I thought that would be just kind of a very refreshing fun. And then you can also, sometimes you can make things like I had made that little cheese ball that looks, that was a bit of a cheese ball looking, that was a football. You can make drinks or things that are for each of the cities. That makes it a lot of fun. So it just depends on what it is that you want to do um, with your food and drink to make it fun. So so what other are there any other food or drinks that you're going to be bringing to the table?
You know, Gwen and I really don't go to many, Super Bowl parties. The last couple of years, um, we, watched it at home, or
Yeah,
not been going out to many parties especially after the pandemic. So,
right.
well,
Yeah, I've done it. I remember coming home, and changing it. Mom already had the game going on for me. It's just like, okay, it's, because it starts at a weird time. It doesn't start at your normal,
yeah.
the hour. So I'm going to see what.
But before the pandemic, there was a few years I didn't watch it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why was that?
I want to say it was that controversy over the kneeling and all that stuff, and basically, when too many players turned that into a fight, it didn't. I lost interest in the NFL. I'm watching you to watch you play football,
Right.
not to take political sides and fight with you over your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion, all right, but don't make you're playing your football game about your opinion. That was when that became more dominant of
Yeah.
what the fight was than the game. I was like, I'm not interested. I'll watch the game, but not the fight. So I'm trying to think that some of the most interesting parties that I've had going over the years. I remember, I was part of church groups in the early 2000s. So like almost everything we went to, there was non-drinking.
Okay.
There's, maybe people would have beer at it, but most of the people were, drinking sodas because it was a church function. The most memorable I remember was the year that Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson. Remember that year?
The funny thing is, that's exactly the one that I was thinking about, because I was with a guy I was dating at the time, and his brothers and his dad, and we're in the living room, and the one wife. So I think there was only two of us that were female. The rest were guys, and so I had made my ribs, and so I'm bringing them out, and right as I'm bringing them out, the one brother's all, "Did you see that? Oh my goodness, did you see that?" And I'm like, it was right at that moment that the whole wardrobe malfunction happened. But that is one Super Bowl that I absolutely do remember.
We were at at a party that it was a life enrichment seminar we went through here in Dallas, and the group of people who went through it, we put on a party. One of the people put up their houses, and you know what I mean, and the rest of us just volunteered to put stuff together and make the party interesting. And that's what we were that year when that happened. So like a lot of us were talking about life changes because we had just gone through the seminar like 60 or 90 days before.
Okay.
We're talking about life changes, things that we went through in life over the last 90 days since going through it. And like you're half watching the thing, and I remember half watching it, and like five people in the room going, "Did you see that?" Yeah.
Yeah, that was the funny thing is that later on I saw this little meme with Miss Piggy, so that was just kind of like, oh my goodness. Now they're using little Miss Piggy to represent. I was like, oh gosh. I found these crackers that have sea salt and black pepper, and they're really good. So I thought these would be really good to in place of the pita chips or naan for the hummus.
Yeah.
Because they hold well. And these are the I love the roasted bell pepper, but I got the pineapple one this time.
Interesting. What is the earliest Super Bowl you remember watching?
Wow. I probably watched Super Bowl without even realizing it was a Super Bowl when I was a kid, because my brother, of course, was the one that watched football. In the 80s, late 80s, I remember watching a lot of football with my brother, and we would always try to get the call and the hand gestures that went along with the penalty of who had done what. So that was always, my brother and I were always, trying. And he's 10 years older than I am. He's, he knew football a heck of a lot more than I did, but it was still that trying to beat my brother at, and I'm sure that there was times that he let me win, where and that was his way of teaching me, was getting me to what's the penalty, what's the hand gesture, and how many yards are they going to get? So that was back in the
I still don't know what any of them are.
I used to love.
Remember who was playing though in the early games?
Oh my goodness! I remember watching back in the 80s, the 49ers, the Cowboys.
Oh yeah.
So back then,
I remember big rivalry back then too. Yeah.
I remember the Oilers. I don't remember if they ever went to the Super Bowl, but I do remember.
No, the Oilers never did.
Okay, but I do remember watching the Oilers, because then, of course, they went to the Texans, I guess, or they went somewhere else before they became the Texans. There was so much movement there, but I do remember when they went away. So just some of those teams that watching them move around.
So no, the Oilers went to Tennessee, became the Tennessee Titans, and then their expansion team became the Houston Texans.
Okay, so I knew there was
Yeah,
I was tracking that.
Like, the Cleveland Browns went and became the Baltimore Ravens, and then an expansion team came to be the Cleveland Browns, because they're just so original in Cleveland.
No.
So the earliest game I watched would have been, I want to say it was 1979. Let's see.
Okay.
1979 Super Bowl. And I know it was Pittsburgh won.
Okay.
Yes. You're gonna hate me for this. The 1979 Super Bowl. It would be the first one I've seen. They beat the Cowboys, which in the 70s, right? The Steelers the Cowboys in the Super Bowl could not beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl, right? And I do remember in the 1990s when the Super Bowl with the Cowboys and the Steelers. And the Cowboys finally beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl. All right.
The Steelers still have one more Super Bowl win than the Cowboys and the 49ers. They have 6, and Niners and Cowboys have 5.
Mm-hmm. And Pittsburgh has 5.
They have 6.
They have 6?
They have 6.
How many does the Patriots have?
Oh, don't remember. I'd have to look that one up. There's only certain ones that I know.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember.
I don't care about the Patriots anymore.
I do remember when they had a perfect season, and then they lost the Super Bowl after a perfect season.
Didn't the Miami Dolphins do that too?
Oh, that was probably years ago if they did. I do remember watching more recently when the Ravens and the 49ers were playing at the Superdome in New Orleans. That was a really good game, and then it was on the 49ers side, and then the power went out. And after they restored the power, it took a moment. They had to do their song and dance to entertain everybody while everything came back on. But after that happened, the 49ers lost their momentum. Mm-hmm. And as much as it hurt me to see the Niners lose, I was kind of glad, because I didn't need the Niners to have one more Super Bowl win than the Cowboys. So, so that was the only reason I wanted them to lose. But they lost their momentum after all that, and they couldn't get it back, and that's why they lost. So something happened that they're going, doing awesome. Then there's this interruption, and I used that quite a bit because I was doing some mastermind trainings a couple of years later, and I was using that as an example where sometimes when we're on just this rampage and we're doing awesome, and then we get an interruption, and then we can't get it back.
Yeah,
and it just completely ruins our space and our ability to continue to move forward in whatever it is that we're working on. So that was, like perfect example of allowing ourselves to get in our own way.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got in their own way. And then the Cowboys have been getting in their own way for many, 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 many years now.
Since I moved to Texas, they've been in their own way. But one of the things when the Cowboys were playing the 49ers, it was mentioned on that game that it's been since the 90s that either one of those teams have won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Now, the 49ers have been in a few Super Bowls, but they haven't won. Yeah.
4 out of the last 6, they've made it to. They made it, but they didn't make it to Super Bowl. They just made it to the playoffs.
Because I remember in the 80s, all right, everybody talking about, this team or that team. And they're like, yeah, well, they've got so many wins, so many losses. And I said, well, I remember the Steelers, they have 4 wins and no loss. But now they have a loss. No. What?
Never wear white to a Super Bowl party. You will get smaller.
Never. That is the first. That should be rule number 1 for Super Bowl parties for our podcast. Because
not wear white.
If you don't go to a Super Bowl party to taste all the food and have drinks and have a good time, you know what I mean? You're wasting your time.
Yeah. My ranch water was super yummy. I really like it. It's very refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use tequila. I use vodka. I really like it. Lime juice, Tito's vodka, and Topo Chico.
So one food that neither of us, well, you kind of have, but I don't, but that is traditional in every Super Bowl party is somebody has the 6-foot sub that's cut into pieces.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it at every Super Bowl party. Somebody has it, or they make the sub, the big Super Bowl thing out of lunch meats.
You know what the funny thing is? I've never seen it at any Super Bowl party that I've been to.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen it at other gatherings, but never at a Super Bowl party. Because that's stuff that I pay attention to. I pay attention to food. When I was looking at this, it was like, what food? Before I decided on drink, it was what food am I going to have? What food am I going to show? What food am I going to, give kudos to? So that's, I'm all about the food. So I pay attention to food. I'm a munch mouth in case you hadn't heard.
But in the 1990s, the Super Bowls, what was the famous food? We should have people put this in the comments tonight. What was the famous food that was ordered at halftime?
Pizza?
Remember in the 1990s, Domino's Pizza. That was their busiest time every year was the halftime show. People would order Domino's Pizza at halftime.
So I think that's what in the 90s is the last time that they had that guarantee of. I just spoke about this a week ago on my YouTube channel. I did a little video. I did actually a short video and a long video, but I was talking about what is our unique selling proposition. And for Domino's, it was fresh hot pizza delivered to your home in 30 minutes or less, or it's free.
Yeah.
And the thing is that people are still to this day trying to hold them to it, even though they haven't had that guarantee since the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And I think it was in part because they couldn't, they could not deliver the number of pizzas that were being ordered in that half-hour time frame because so many people were ordering, and they were all ordering at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that. It's that was the thing. Tacos and beer. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, because you go now, you'll have tacos at a party. People lined up with tacos or lined up fajitas, right? No.
Yeah, I do tacos.
Do you?
Sometimes, not always. I like my ribs. Well,
No, again, I haven't done a party in a while, so I would have done, but for me, ribs, I'd have to start in the morning because I slow cook my ribs most of the day on my smoker now. So.
See, I make them the day before, and on the day of, I just throw them on the barbecue.
Yeah, I don't ever eat my ribs after 2 days. If they've sit in the refrigerator more than 2 days after, I eat everything that night that I want. The next day, I might heat one up, but nope.
Yeah, well, the thing is that my ribs are going to be eaten that day that they get served. I've had to tell the ribs are not to be eaten; they're for tomorrow because otherwise they'd be gone. But yeah, pretty yummy. I was going to make another different cocktail. I was going to make the cava with the pomegranate.
Mm-hmm.
But truly, I am enjoying this ranch water. And I was not a ranch water fan.
I decided to pour me a little bit of bourbon now that I've calmed down with my food.
Ah, there you go. Well, I still have a board meeting. I'm the secretary, so I can't get to that just yet. Maybe later tonight as a, as a nightcap. But
yeah.
Talking to people about our podcast that we did, there's a few other people that were like, oh my goodness, I love this. And they're following us now. But I was talking about dry January, and somebody said, you can get non-alcoholic gin. I'm like, where? It's like, but it was like, yeah, we did this, we did that. And they're like, oh my goodness, that is so awesome. So, we try to accommodate, we try to show the different things that we can do. And we just, add a little bit of different information. One other Super Bowl that I do remember, I was at my brother's house. This is a long time ago, my goodness. My first ex, way back when, he was allergic to cats. So when we got there, my sister-in-law had a chair right outside the living room in the patio area by the window. So that we could sit out there and watch the game from outside, because the cats were the cat. The cat was going to be out and about. So it's like, take a Benadryl, you'll be fine. But that same day, I remember that my brother made margaritas, and all I had to do was this, and my brother would come over and fill up my glass, and I'd drink my margarita. And when it was empty, I'd go like this, and my brother just kept filling my margarita glass. I did not drive home that day, so. Yeah. But I had a lot of good margaritas. He did the squares. And I do have actually, it's for a nonprofit. They're doing squares. So I have to reach out to Mr. Mike Bishop. He is an amazing person, but he's doing he'll send the link so that way you can get the back then it was 25 cents a square. Now it's $50 a square. Inflation from the 90s to now, 1999 to now.
So my friend Kevin in Philadelphia, Tiki Kev, he does a big one every year. And every now and then I keep meaning every year to just chime in and join it just for the heck of it, to mess with people in Philadelphia that if I won from Dallas. But anyway.
Yeah, good time. So are you going to be watching, are you going to be going to any parties this year, or are you going to be doing your own thing?
I really have no plans for being in a party. I'm probably going to watch it here at the house. I've got this beautiful brand new 65-inch TV.
Oh.
As long as they're broadcasting it on because we only have internet TV. Okay. We don't have satellite anymore.
Okay. Hey, Ruben, what are you going to be doing on Super Bowl Sunday? Oh, we are, so the NFL owns, besides the NFL owning all the teams, the names, the logos, and all the things that go along with it, they also own, they have trademarked the Super Bowl. So you cannot use the word Super Bowl or Super Sunday unless you're willing to pay for it. So that's why they call it, a lot of times you hear the big game, or for game night, or for whatever it is, the big game. They're calling it everything except the Super Bowl, because otherwise the NFL will come down and will nail people.
They trademarked Super Bowl as one word.
I don't know if it was one word or two words. This is the NFL. You would think that they would do Super Bowl and Super Bowl and Super Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So without the express written consent of the NFL, if not, what happened on The Simpsons one time was that, they came through Homer Simpson's house because he didn't have permission to watch something, whatever it was. So going back to the one Super Bowl where my brother was filling up my drink, I remember that it was in January.
Yeah.
Now, the Super Bowl, since from 67 to 78, was always played mid-January. Mm-hmm. And then from 79, when you saw the Cowboys lose, a moment of silence for that, until 2003, it was always in late January. So I remember this, the Super Bowl always being the last Sunday of January. And then one year it was like, what the hell happened? Why was it moved? So in 2004 through 2021, it was the first Sunday of February. And the reason that it was moved was because the season expanded. And that was number one. But number two, before, it was playoffs and what have you. So Saturday, Sunday playoffs, and then, or Sunday playoffs. And then the following Sunday was Super Bowl. Well, they wanted to give the players a week off. Mm-hmm. So in order to maintain that week off and not start the season during Labor Day weekend, they moved it. So that's why it got moved from the first Sunday in February to the second Sunday in February. So a lot of movement has been going on just because there's more games. I don't know. They're trying to make another buck, NFL. Are we giving you a hard time for trying to make a buck? So NFL 57 will be in Glendale, Arizona this year. It will be in Las Vegas next year. And in 2025, it'll be back in New Orleans. Now, it should have been in New Orleans next year. However, there is a conflict with Mardi Gras, so they had to move it until 2025. Otherwise, Vegas would not have had it. And the Allegiant Stadium in Vegas is brand freaking spanking new. I mean, it's going to be 4 years old by the time the Super Bowl is played there. And then, of course, you got the Superdome that has now it's the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, and it's I forgot the name of the State Farm. That's what it is. I had to think about it.
Yeah.
Yep, State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Jake from State Farm commercials that are going to be coming out.
Probably, yeah.
M&M's commercials and Doritos commercials, and of course, the one that I always look forward to, the Budweiser Clydesdale commercials. Those are always my favorite.
Yes. Wait a minute. Do you remember the years that they had the Budweiser Bowl?
Oh, my goodness.
That's got to be 90s, Budweiser Bowl.
I was going to say that had a... Because that was around the Budweiser,
No, that was the campaign after the Budweiser Bowl.
Okay.
Budweiser.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my goodness, that was a long time ago. Vaguely. Ever so vaguely, because, yeah. Wow. How they use certain gimmicks, if you want to call it that, and they write it for as long as they can, and then they move on. But I remember the Budweiser. That was just the funniest thing. And then when the chameleon was like, trying to teach whoever it was, enunciate. I will teach you, enunciate. Oh my God. I don't know. That's such a bad thing. Commercials just stick with us.
Yeah.
Stick with us. Yeah.
See, there's a whole other thing when it comes to our Super Bowl Sunday is the commercials, because the commercials became their own show, if you will. All right. What are your favorite commercials throughout the years of watching the Super Bowl? The memorable ones. Let's talk about the ones. What is the most memorable one? First of all, let's start with that. The one you remember the most, all your years of watching Super Bowl.
There was a Clydesdale commercial, Budweiser, with the Clydesdale and the dog. I vaguely remember it, but the Clydesdale was having some issues, and then the dog came out and was trying to pull the stagecoach, and the Clydesdale came out and helped the dog, and so the dog's like, "Oh my goodness, look what I'm doing!" And it was the Clydesdale that was helping him.
Oh yeah.
So I thought that was awesome. So yeah, there's something about the Clydesdales that it's not like I drink Budweiser. Maybe I'll drink one once in a great while if there's nothing else and I really, really want a beer. But just their commercials, I've seen the Clydesdales. They're just gorgeous horses. I got to see them in San Diego back in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. And so the Clydesdale commercials are always fun to watch. I remember another commercial, and I don't know what it was, but they were out in the desert, and it was on a farm, and they're playing out in the middle of nowhere. There's a football game going on, and it might have been a Clydesdale commercial on that one too. And then, of course, if you go way back, Michael Jackson and Pepsi, so those are like very vague and faded.
So I got to tell you, till this day, my favorite Super Bowl commercial was Visa check card. Okay. 1990, 98.
Okay.
98-99 Super Bowl. And I remember it specifically because the way they did this commercial, this was the greatest thing in the world that they've ever done for comedy. Is Bob Dole is finally coming home to retire and live in this small town in Kansas. Bob Dole just lost the election to Bill Clinton for president, and he resigned from his senator seat, so he's going to retire now. And he comes home, and they're throwing this big party for him for his retirement. All right? And everybody's, you know what I mean? Welcome home, Bob. And he's sitting in the coffee shop, getting a cup of coffee. And Doris says, "Here's your check, Bob." And he goes, "Sure. Can I write you a check for that?" "Sure, Bob. Got ID?" Bob Dole turns to the camera and goes, "I just can't win. I'm sorry. It's the most hilarious thing in the world. I just can't win." The guy made fun of himself. All right. And I love that commercial because it was a Super Bowl commercial. And I remember that. And it's like, only Bob Dole could lose the presidential race
and then get on television
in a Super Bowl commercial.
The other more recent was, I was like, what the heck is this? And it was all the GoDaddy commercials with and then Danica Patrick, and I was like, woman, can you just go out there and do something in NASCAR versus getting on the GoDaddy? I remember being so mad at her.
Yeah.
I wanted her to do better as a NASCAR racer because she was the only female. I wanted her to do better. And instead I'm like, you're freaking in front, gorgeous woman, and in the GoDaddy commercials.
Yeah, that's it. That pissed me off too, because she was the best female racer that came along. All right. And I remember the year
she could have been better.
She could have. I remember the year that she led 2 laps at the the Daytona 500. And that was history, because that was the first time in history a woman led 2 laps. And they have to lead a lap to go down in history as, you know what I mean? All right, to go down in history as a leader. right? That's, you know what I mean? You could be in it, but if you unless you lead one full run, like you take the lead and then they pass you again before the lap's up, you're not counted as a leader. You have to make a complete lap, and she did 2 complete laps before, someone pulled ahead of her. And I think, and this is the sad part, in my opinion, I think they really did. Too many guys, like, let's just leave her lead for a bit because this is history. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that they let her, in my opinion, as well.
She could have been so much better of a driver than she was. She was better than, I know other female drivers that were out there that just didn't make it because they couldn't get the sponsorship. She had the sponsorship, but she couldn't win. And it's, it's like, and then that's a whole other thing we can do and on this, around drinking is NASCAR sports. Dale Earnhardt. I was a huge Dale Earnhardt fan, as you can see by my number 3s up there. But Dale Earnhardt Jr., even though Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the most popular racer, right? He didn't win half what his dad did.
Right.
Third, I think, of what
his dad protected him. That when he died protecting his son.
Well, yeah, but
yeah, that was. I was like, when I saw that, it was like go out and win. He was protecting his son, and I was like, that was. I remember watching that race.
That was a tragic day. All right. Which brings me to another subject I want to talk about here before we go away today was my brother was at that race where Dale Earnhardt died.
Okay.
He was sitting in the stands and watched it.
Wow.
Sad day. All right. The question I was going to ask is, have you ever gone to, or have you ever considered going to watch a Super Bowl live?
Oh, I would love to watch a Super Bowl live. I haven't actually tried to do it, but it's something that if I had the opportunity and if I plan for it, I need to save my I can't even say nickels and dimes because it's going to be more than nickels and dimes to go to a Super Bowl game.
It's hundreds and bars of gold right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We found seats. I looked this year. I found seats midsection. You know what I mean? Yeah, midsection, but they're up. All right, second and third level. In the 10,000 range.
Yeah, that's when I've looked. It's been 10,000 above, and I'm like,
there was way up where like 6,000 to 8,000. So,
and the thing is, just being there, I think would be exciting as it is.
Mm-hmm.
To have your team be there, that makes it that much more important. But if I can get to a Super Bowl without spending 20, 30,000, I mean, it's like that would be nice, maybe 5,000 for 2 people with everything. I can almost swallow that. That's a vacation, but it's like, it's an experience.
It would be a neat experience to do. I really do have to agree with that. I think it would be a unique experience for us because let's face it, you're going there, you're going to go to the hotel, right? If you got a hotel ahead of time, first of all.
Right.
You're leaving your car there and you're Ubering over to wherever the game is.
Right.
Because you're going to be lucky to find an Uber to get your ass back, right?
Right.
But you're going to need the time to sober up if you're there live. Because let me tell you, think about this. If you go in there, all right, for a party, all right, not just a seat. I would love to go, but I would like to have like a group of us buy the freaking box.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Super Bowl experience.
That's an experience, yeah. It's got to be a fun experience. I mean, going to see a Cowboy game preseason in their new stadium was awesome. That's when when you and I were talking about starting this podcast back in August of 2021. I was at the Airbnb, and it was like at the end of the day, and I'm in the pool, and I'm like, oh, I should see if the Cowboys. And I know it's preseason, but I'm like, I should see if the Cowboys are playing. This is Saturday. I'm thinking the game is Sunday, and I'm looking, and there's a game on Saturday in 2 hours or an hour, whatever it was, and I went, oh shit, they're playing today. So I looked up. I got these seats or this one seat because I was by myself. It was like, I think it was $33.
Yeah.
It was dirt cheap. And so there was other seats, what have you. And I was like, no, I picked this one. So $33. So I paid it. So I get there. And of course, parking was a pain in the butt. So I find parking at last, took a bus because there was a shuttle bus that is just going around, and you can Venmo them because this is private. It's not an actual city bus, it's private. So they're picking up people and taking them to the stadium, which was fun in itself. And people were like, oh, so you can Venmo them. And this, I don't know what that is. So I ended up picking up this one couple's, it was like, I don't know, $8 for them. I was like, I got you. And I just paid the driver. And they're like, oh, thank you. I was like, it's fine. So you get into the stadium. I had to walk all the way where I had to walk. Then I had to scan my ticket again to get into this other section. It's a private section. Yeah. And so I have like this wonderful seats in this area that I'm going, if I was in regular season, those seats probably would have gone $400 or $500 on the low end. On the low end, they probably would have been closer, because as I looked later on, they were running between like $450 and $2,000, depending on what seat you were on. Yeah. I had sushi. I mean, they had specialty food going on. I mean, wow. It was like I would not have had that experience in the regular season, and it was preseason. But you know what? I still got to experience the stadium and the whole experience of being there, which I loved. And there was somebody that told me for Vegas, go to a college game instead of a Raiders game, because you'll get the experience without having to pay the ticket price of going to see the Raiders.
Yeah. We do that with minor league baseball up here, but yeah. That stadium, I remember when they were building that stadium, and like the Super Bowl was here in 2011. All right. And it was an ice storm like it was for us this past week, and everything was shut down. I know restaurant businesses that went out of business. They lost everything.
Really? Wow.
And so much. They had to order the food to prep for the Super Bowl parties coming on, everybody being here. All right. They had to order that food almost like 6 to 9 months earlier to plan for that, because there was so much needed. And then they ordered it all, and 90, like there's restaurants that 90% of what they got, they had to throw out because it was iced. The whole place was iced, and they had no, they had no business at all.
Oh, wow.
So they're planning to have this multi-$1,000 parties for, and nothing, nobody, because nobody could go out. And I remember they had hardly, and that was the first time we ever had a big ice storm here. And the only highway that was open was the I-30, which goes by the stadium, and it was open I-30 to downtown Dallas, I-30 to downtown Fort Worth. Everything else was like, and like this past week we had ice on the road, but not as bad as then. Ice on the road back then was this thick.
Wow.
All right. Ice this week was about this thick. So.
That's crazy. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, I've toured that stadium. My brother and I, when he was in town, we went and toured it, even though he's a 49ers fan. And then when we were and then he lives near the 49ers stadium, we toured the 49ers stadium. That 49ers stadium is more tech, a lot more smart done tech wise than the Cowboys stadium. But of course it is newer. So some of these new stadiums, the tech they have into it, because I remember all the stuff they were trying to explain to us about the Cowboys stadium. And then the same thing, they explained it to us when we were going through the tour of the stadium in Santa Clara for the 49ers. The 49ers technology built with an app. Now, they may have adapted the app system into the Cowboys stadium. I don't know. But the 49ers with an app from your seat, you can actually tap into the store and get a jersey if you're cold, or a coat if you're cold, and they would deliver it to your seat.
Wow.
From your seat, you can actually check to see which is the closest bathroom with the shortest line. Like when they were explaining it, I'm like, wow. Like, and we've seen the sensor material up to make it work, right? I mean, the infrastructure they had to put in to make that work was mind-blowing.
Yeah, they have to put all sorts of sensors, because when I came back from Nashville on Thursday, It was the parking structure. When Sean picked me up, he says, "This is so amazing. It tells you how many parking spots are in each floor, and when you're looking down, you can see green, 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 red, red, green, green, green. So you know that there are spots if it's green, if they're open, or red if they're taken, because it's all the sensors.
Yeah.
So it must be doing that right
That's the
outside.
type of technology that was put into the stadium in Santa Clara, California. So I don't know if the Cowboys may have started to wire that in. They may have had the wiring back there to add that, but they built that. Now that stadium is almost 12 years old. So they started building that stadium in 2008 or 2009.
Yeah, because I remember going to Arlington Stadium back from 2005 to 2006.
Yeah,
that's when I was out there, and yeah, that was an experience. Just not getting out there, but being out there and then coming home. Oh my goodness, that was a process getting home. Because of
I've gone to the Cowboys games. I went to was in the old Texas Stadium in Irving.
Yeah.
So with the hole in the roof, which they said was the dumbest idea in the world, because every time it rained, that place became the leakiest ship in the town, because it just no matter where you were, you got wet. The whole stadium was that way. No matter where you were at Texas Stadium, if it rained, you got wet.
Yeah, I remember going to that game. I had my cowboy hat on, and I had my Troy Aikman jersey on, and we had really good seats. They were playing against the Rams, and they lost. And I'm like, "Where's my yellow line?" The guys were just laughing because they knew I was messing, because it's like, I don't see my yellow line. I wanted to see my yellow line. Yeah, that was fun, but it was sad to see the Cowboys lose. And even if they had won, the Redskins had won their game, and they needed to lose. So the Cowboys needed to win. The Redskins needed to lose in order for the Cowboys to move on. Yeah. So neither one of the Redskins won. So even if they had won their games against the Rams of all teams, because they were still in St. Louis at the time, they weren't going to go anywhere. Yeah. So that's been my last game that I went to back in around New Year's, because it was like the 30th or 31st. I think it was the 30th that I went to that game of 2005.
Wow.
Yeah, memories.
Well, this has been a fun episode, because it wasn't just about drinking, but about some of our experiences. So, yes. And I finished all my food.
So I have not finished all of mine, and I still have half of my ranch water, which is absolutely delicious, very refreshing. I really enjoyed it. And yes, I prefer it with vodka over tequila.
Cool. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back next week. In the meantime, our show is brought to you every week by my wonderful partner and I. I'm Tim Gillette with Simple Easy Marketing. Go to simpleeasyevents.com. And my partner is
Gladys Belwell, Insurance by Design, helping small businesses with their employee benefits. You can find me at insurancedesignpros.com.
Cool. All right, guys, we will see you guys next week. In the meantime, all right, stay safe. All right, enjoy, no matter who you're rooting for. Enjoy the game. Yeah. Go Eagles.